Hello there, and welcome back to Inside the Draw. It's another episode recording here in Denver, Wednesday night, the second week of Rome. We're at the semi final stage in the women's tournament, and we're halfway to the semi final stage in the men's tournament. Bottom half are there, top half are still at the quarters. I was just thinking I need to get one of those little bars that extends a little bit and brings this microphone a little closer towards my mouth, so hopefully the volume is okay. A couple of things I wanted to touch on and get into from the tennis world ahead of maybe the next pod, which will probably be next Sunday, 4 days' time. At that point, we're going to preview the men's and women's tournaments in Hamburg and Geneva for the men, and then Strasbourg and Rabat for the women. And honestly, I get so excited about tournaments, 250s in particular, but even the 500s like Hamburg, the week before a slam. The week before a slam is just a brilliant time for upsets and for betting and for long shots and big names who are entered taking up too much equity in the book and then they don't try. So I really love that. I still feel like an area to target. But anyway, we'll get into that. That's still a couple of days away, but that will be the next episode. But I want to touch on some stuff generally in the tennis space right now, and then we'll touch on Rome for the men and the women, and then a quick look again, an up to date look as of just now at the French Open again, with some betting and some prices. So I was in New York for a couple of days, and I wasn't necessarily watching as much of Rome as I would have been watching had I just been at home. But one of the big pieces of news from the last couple of days was the Jack Draper Andy Murray hookup. Not necessarily a surprise. Those boys are pretty close, and they've hit a lot and practiced a lot. And I really think Murray is like a hero to that generation of British tennis players, male and female, but arguably particularly the male guys. So I think Draper probably just has a massive respect and looks up to Murray a lot, and undoubtedly Murray would have been some sort of hero to Draper over the years. So now they're going to hook up in an official capacity where Murray is going to coach him. They have come out and said it's just for grass initially, which is, interesting. It would be hard for me to see Murray walking away if they had a really successful grass court campaign. So a couple of things here. One is that Jamie Delgado was coaching Draper up until now, and Jamie Delgado's name is not on the ticket with Murray, so that's really interesting. So obviously we don't know all the details here, but it looks like Delgado's out, Murray is in. Draper's coming back from injury, so it's I think he's obviously got to be relatively healthy or pretty healthy, or Murray wouldn't have taken this in the first place. So I think Murray's probably taken it on the basis that he believes Draper can go out and win a big title or two big titles, or maybe the biggest title of all, which would obviously be Wimbledon. But going out and winning something like even Eastbourne, or going out and winning Queens, will be huge for someone like Draper, a British tennis player. Draper has that level. Draper has made slam semi-finals, and before he got injured, he won Indian Wells last year. So he's an excellent player. He's an excellent prospect. He's never been past round two at Wimbledon, which is hard to believe. Now, he did miss 1 year in the middle with injury, and then you go out and you just come up against a good player on a given day and you lose, and fair enough. He hasn't played a ton of Wimbledons, but he's played it I think 4 or 5 times now and never been past round two, which is strange to say the least. I think his game matches up lovely for grass. I think he's got the huge lefty serve. He's got great hands. He's got good movement. He's got a super slice. He's got the British crowd. Now he's got Andy Murray in his corner, which is, a ton of experience from a seriously good grass player over the years. So I think the Brits really have something to latch onto here and a bit of hope for Wimbledon this year. I like Draper. I like his game. I would like to see him doing well. Does he have the consistency over 5 sets to beat a Sinner, or if Alcaraz is healthy to beat an Alcaraz? We'll have to wait and see. But I do think the chances to upset those boys are high, particularly Sinner, are highest on grass, and certainly higher on grass than they are on a normal hard court for me, and probably higher on grass than they are for clay as well. So I'm really interested to see that. I think the happy path there would be for that Murray and Draper kind of situation would be that if they go away, maybe won Queens and got to a semi-final at Wimbledon, Murray's staying with him. That would be my view. Once Wimbledon's out of the way, you're getting out of the golf season anyway, so how much is Murray going to be worried about, having to leave the fairways behind him for a few months and go all the way to the end of the season? I could easily see Murray being over here in the US for the hard court season post-grass. It depends how it goes, but I'd like to see, at the very least, the one thing I'd like to see is Draper injury-free and give Murray a really good chance. because it didn't work out when he went to Novak that time, his only other dip of his toe into the coaching space. And now he's a really good golfer and he's playing every day and practicing every day. And he said, I don't have any interest in coaching at the moment. And, he wants to just play golf, which honestly I get so much. But I could definitely see him making this a permanent thing if they go well. But yeah, let's see how it goes. Okay, another couple of things. Let me pause for a brief drink of tea. The next one I wanted to look at was Lorenzo Musetti's injury. So I was really... Look, I had a bet on Musetti to win the quarter. He played pretty well. He beat Cerundolo in the kind of tougher match on the tougher side of that top part of the third section, and he won straight sets and he looked fairly good doing it. Towards the end he hurt his leg and he's coming back from injury. He hurt what I think was his hamstring, but you could see he was in a bad way and he started crying at the end of the match, or borderline crying, sobbing towards the end of the match when he's sitting in his chair after he won. And you could see he was hobbling and you could see he was heavily strapped. And then he's up against Casper Ruud in the round before the quarterfinals, so the fourth round. And I have no idea why he took to the court. I was commenting on different videos and threads, and I was like, look, he's going to pull out. He's not going to play. He wants to just not hurt this or not do more damage to it than he's already done. Get a week or 10 days off and then get to Paris, and hopefully he'll still be fine for Roland Garros. I cannot believe the stupidity. He went out and he played Ruud on one leg. He worsened the injury, comes off court, the next day has a scan, and now he's out of Roland Garros, which is, like, for him, the biggest tournament of the year. Absolutely the biggest tournament of the year, given the points he's defending as well, and the fact he has a better chance on clay than he does on other surfaces. So really poor mismanagement of a treatment of an injury diagnosis or prognosis or whatever at that point. He certainly wasn't himself towards the end of that Cerundolo match. He still got over the line, maybe fell over the line more accurately, but he just should have pulled out, should have withdrawn. Don't take on Ruud. It doesn't matter. Yeah, like I honestly think it's because it's in Rome that he went ahead and played it. But he's going to regret that. He's going to miss the rest of clay. He's arguably going to miss some of the grass. He's really done himself some damage here. So, that's the end of the line for Musetti for a while. Let's see if he can be back healthy and towards himself and towards his best tennis again by the time Flushing Meadows comes around in, August. But really disappointed for him. I just would have it's an annoying one because it could have been avoided. Not the tweak against Cerundolo, but you do not have to play against Ruud next round. Why are you stepping on the court against Ruud injured? It's madness on clay against a player like Ruud. But anyway, there he is. He made his choice, and that he's done what he's done. So another couple of players I wanted to touch on, both Sabalenka and Djokovic. I'm not slightly surprised, I guess. There's others I'm more surprised about, but neither Sabalenka nor Djokovic look like they're playing this week. I guess with Djokovic, you have to take into account prize appearance fees. Is a tournament, what's the going rate for Djokovic? Is he getting $1 million to show up and just be there at a 250 or a 500? He could have quite easily probably gone to Geneva, played a round, maybe won a round, and then just withdrawn, or tank in the second round just to get some tennis under his belt. He's obviously gone. Like, this is basically going to be his first time going into Roland Garros without a clay win since he made his breakthrough onto the main tour. It's back in the noughties since he last did that. So it's absolutely not the preparation he would have wanted. He obviously wouldn't have played Rome if he thought he couldn't win, and if he was injured, he wouldn't have played Rome. So I don't think he's injured. I don't think he's perfectly healthy, but he went out there, he won the first set 6-2 against Dino Prismic, and then he just got beaten from there. I thought he might have showed up at Geneva for a round or two ahead of Roland Garros, just to get some 4 or 6 sets in the legs, competitive sets in the legs before Roland Garros. But look, who are any of us to question Djokovic? So he's going straight to Paris. His next match will be round 1 of the French Open in 10 days' time, or whatever it's going to be. And it looks like Aryna Sabalenka is in the same boat. She's not currently, as far as I can see, on any of the entry lists for this week. You would never think someone like her would go to Rabat. In the grand scheme of things, someone like her wouldn't go to Strasbourg either. But given she lost so early in Rome and relatively early in Madrid, I thought there was a half chance that she might. But she obviously feels she can just get there and play practice sets and practice with her coaches and be fine just going straight into round 1. So I'm a tiny bit surprised at her as well. I thought she might do something similar to what Djokovic did and end up in Strasbourg for a round or two. But again, it could just be these tournament organisers don't want to pay $750,000 or $1 million to Sabalenka and to Djokovic just at the last minute to get them to show up at the tournament and play around. I think a lot of the time there was a really interesting segment on Andy Roddick's podcast during the week served just about appearance fees generally, and it's like the big thing he said was they want to know so far in advance, the tournament organisers, are you committed? Do I have Djokovic? Okay, I'm fine paying him $1 million, but I want to know 10 months in advance so I can market the tournament based on Djokovic being there, or that I can sell tickets based on Djokovic being there, whatever. That's the big sell. It's one thing paying him £1 million 10 months in advance when you have all that lead-in time. It's another thing paying someone $1 million to show up 4 days before the tournament, and you're only going to get potentially a round out of them. So I can see why it might be a hard one to organise. On that same theme, it came out today, and I don't know if this is reliable. We'll have to wait and see. It came out today that Jannik Sinner is not going to play any grass warm-up before Wimbledon. I would be shocked. I don't see... he's played a lot of tennis. He's now going for his 6th Masters 1000 title in a row, which is bananas. And he's on his 31st win. He has one more win to break Djokovic's all-time consecutive 1000 level match wins. So he's definitely played tons of tennis, and grass is a short season. But it's so hard to transition from what you would expect will be a Roland Garros final or title probably for Sinner, and then to go straight from there, 3 weeks later, into Wimbledon and play round one of grass without having any warm-up. Now, yeah, he can probably do it, and honestly, he can probably treat the first week as a warm-up, but that's draw dependent. You don't want to get someone in your little section of your quarter who's a huge server or painting the lines. You would rather just have a similar to what I said about Djokovic next week or Sabalenka, just a 1 or 2 competitive matches before Wimbledon. But it sounds like he's not. You would think, given he's a fluent German speaker and where he's from in the north of Italy, you would think that Halle would be an ideal landing spot for him, and he has played Halle plenty in the past, and Zverev has played Halle plenty in the past. I was trying to look up and see, are there any financial reasons that Halle wouldn't be able to get Sinner? They gave Roger Federer a lifetime deal at the towards the end of his career, which basically guaranteed him appearance money until he retired. He could go back every year he wanted, even if he wasn't playing much tennis, to go back and play and collect that. But they don't have anything that I can see, so it's like they definitely have money. I would have just thought they'd throw it at Sinner and guarantee that he'd be the one. Maybe, I don't know, maybe they were going to lean into Alcaraz. I always associate Alcaraz more with Queens, but let's see. It's a strange one. There's still a chance that he could end up in Halle, I guess, but it was reported today that he's not going to play a warm-up. I'm surprised at that. I thought he would play one. And it's not like you need to buy in and go all the way to the title. You just need to play to get 4 competitive sets under your belt. You can lose, it's fine. It wouldn't affect his record either, given it's not a 1000. So that was interesting. Okay, I'll move on to Rome. The next 2 or 3 segments are going to be Rome. I put up a couple of bets, obviously, on the betting pod at the start of the week. I still have 2 bets going. Personally, I have Coco Gauff. I backed her at 11-1. There was a lot of 10-1. If anyone listened to the episode before the tournament, there was 16-1 with 365 at the time. I was on the mic recording it, and I was like, I genuinely don't know if they intend to be 16s here or not. And turns out they didn't intend to be 16s. They were 9-1 within 20 minutes, and it was a mistake. But they did hang 16s for an hour pre-tournament on Gauff. Not the kind of one you want to be betting anyway to keep your accounts. But then the other one I'm on is Gauff Svitolina final. That was one of the first bets I mentioned. That's at 80-1. So obviously Gauff is a massive favourite to get past Sorona Cirstea in the semi-final. And on the other side then, Svitolina is a significant dog to Iga Świątek, who looks great. So we'll see how it goes. Stranger things have happened. It'd be real nice bonus to click that 80-1 on the semi-final or on the name the finalist market. But then, yeah, I definitely give Gauff a significant chance. Even if it's Gauff Świątek in the final, Gauff can beat her. Absolutely, Gauff can beat her. I think Świątek looks great, but Gauff can beat anybody. I fully convinced Gauff is the real deal. Obviously, she's defending French Open champion, but she keeps being priced as if she's not the defending French Open champion. A couple of players I wanted to highlight from this week. The first one, actually, just because it's so recent, Luciano Darderi. Fair play to Luciano Darderi. So he's gone out. He's just taken out Zverev and Hodar back to back in the fourth quarter, and not just taking them out back to back. he's bageled both of them back to back in the third set of obviously very competitive matches if they're going to third sets. So I don't know if he's just like aerobic animal or what's going on, but yeah, these other guys are gassing and he's just taking it easy. 6-love twice in a row now in the third set. So he looks great. He looks like the real deal. He's going to come up against Casper Ruud in honestly a very winnable semi-final. If he's able to beat Hodar and Zverev, I do not have Ruud ranked ahead of either Hodar or Zverev right now, to be honest. Ruud has certainly stepped up his game and looked better in Rome than he did in Madrid. I alluded to this before, but I was really disappointed with Ruud in the Tsitsipas match in Madrid, and even more so in the Alex Bloks match in Madrid that he lost. That was obviously the quarter-final match as well, and I was on him in the quarter, but that soured it a little more. But I didn't think he looked good at all. I thought his backhand was honestly puke. So I give Darderi a real chance there, but Ruud will be obviously a favourite. But I guess, yeah, just to touch on Ruud, he has looked good in Rome. His forehand is strong. He's beating players that he should go out and beat. He's been favourite in every match, I think, and won them all. He dropped the set 6-1 the second set to Karen Khachanov yesterday and kind of got saved a little bit by a rain delay. He came back out then and won the decider 6-2. But yeah, he looks great. Let's see how he goes against Darderi. He should be beating Darderi to make it to a final, and then you could see, can he trouble Sinner or not? Sinner will just lean into the backhand and that will be curtains, so I don't think he can touch him. But Sinner still has a little bit of work to do to get there, so we'll talk about that one maybe in a few minutes. The other one I wanted to mention, well, actually two. Sorona Cirstea deserves a mention. She has been rolling. I didn't think she would beat Ostapenko after she took out Sabalenka, so fair play to her. I was delighted she took out Sabalenka because obviously I'm on Goff here and that was my main selection for this tournament. Goff leads the head-to-head 3-love against Cirstea. I would be very surprised if Cirstea took out Goff, but she's not a player that I'm looking past and thinking this is in the bag. It's not. Goff still has to go out there and beat her, and Cirstea is dangerous, so let's see. But then the one I wanted to talk about was Iga Swiatek, and she looks to have righted the boat, had steadied the ship. She was bad in Madrid. She was bad the tournament before that. Was it Stuttgart, her tournament before that? But she looks good. She's bossing girls now. She's winning these 6-1 breadstick sets again that we're accustomed to with Swiatek. I wonder, has something just clicked getting back to her happy place, which is Rome? She's won 3 titles here. Obviously, the clay here is kind of the most similar to Roland Garros if the conditions are right. So she likes those kind of... She's very like Nadal in that sense, like that she likes playing in the daytime. She likes when it's sunny and hot. The court takes her spin, the ball takes her spin in those conditions, and that's when she's lethal. She will be sick if they put her on against Goff at nighttime, because the court doesn't and the ball doesn't take her spin as much at nighttime. So let's see what they do there. I don't know. I half assumed that it would be a nighttime. Oh, sorry, if it's a final it won't be. But even in the semi-final against Svitolina, I'd be interested to see if they put her on at daytime or nighttime, so we'll see. But anyway, bottom line is I thought she looked great. I do think she's back to her best. Honestly, we'll get a look ahead in a minute. I don't have her marked down as a bet for the French Open, but I think she should be favoured for the French Open, and she's not. Sabalenka remains untouched price-wise for Roland Garros. She was plus 250 all along. She's still plus 250. She's bowed out early in Madrid, and now she's bowed out to Hailey Baptiste, and now she's bowed out early in Rome to Sorona Cirstea. 2 bad losses, particularly arguably the Cirstea one, and she's still plus 250 and they haven't touched her, and Swiatek is coasting. So it doesn't make any sense. I think Swiatek should be the favourite given her record in Paris as well, and the fact that like if she is coming back into her peak kind of clay form, then she is an animal. There were times over the last 3 years that she's been going off odds on, so minus 120, even minus 130 for Roland Garros pre-tournament. So there's arguably a ton of value at the plus 270 that you can still get out there. But let's see how it goes. So the remaining games that we've got in Rome, in the women's side, we've got 2 semi-finals. We've got Sorona Cirstea against Coco Gauff. I just touched on it. Gauff leads 3-love in the head-to-head. I do expect her to win. I think she will win, and I hope she does. And then the other one is Swiatek and Svitolina. Honestly, I was kind of hoping Rybakina got past Svitolina today, because I had also backed a Rybakina Gauff final at 22-1 during the tournament, and I would have given Rybakina a better shot at taking out Iga than I give Svitolina. Svitolina still has her chance, but I think Rybakina takes the racket out of your hands more than Svitolina does. And Svitolina, she's more of a counter puncher. She arguably depends on errors from the opponent a little bit as well, whereas that doesn't matter as much to Rybakina. If she's redlining and playing her game, she can beat anybody regardless of what they're doing on their end of the court. So yeah, I don't expect that name the finalist one to get up, but obviously we're very close to it now with Goff being such a favourite. It's a lot of it is hinging on Svitolina. So we'll see how that goes, but two interesting women's semi-finals. And then on the men's side, as I said, the bottom half semi-final is set with Casper Ruud against Darderi. Ruud will be a favourite there, but I think that's very up in the air and very open. The good thing for Darderi as well, he gets a full day of recovery tomorrow, Thursday, and he recovers and he plays Friday, and very good chance of being a night match. We'll see what the other semi-final brings. And then the men's quarterfinals in the top half, you've got Sinner against Rublev. You've got Landalus against Medvedev. So I think Sinner and Medvedev will come through. I should have checked. I think Landalus is a lucky loser coming in here. He played great in Miami, for anyone who remembers, but I think he lost in qualifiers here in Rome. And he's made it all the way through here to a quarter final. So he's rode his luck a little bit, but we've seen that over the last couple of weeks with various lucky losers in tournaments. I think it was Potapova in Madrid, and now it's Martin Landalus in Rome. So he's certainly got a shot against Medvedev, but Medvedev has been looking better and better. And I will say one thing about Medvedev: his 6-love loss to Berrettini in Monte Carlo feels a long time ago right now. Berrettini's off on the challenger circuit again this week after getting knocked out early in Rome. So Sinner plays Rublev. We'll see how that one goes. The thing I always think of when I think of Sinner and Rublev is years ago when Sinner was coming up on the scene, Medvedev, the joker that he is, used to and a good relationship with Rublev. I think he's Rublev's kid's godfather, or actually it's the other way around. Rublev is Medvedev's kid's godfather. But like Medvedev always used to say the way to piss Rublev off was to call him Yannick, because Sinner was like 18 and he was coming up and beating people already, including Rublev, and that was more a prime peak Rublev. And they used to say they looked alike because they were both ginger, which is funny. But anyway, I think we're going to be looking at a Sinner Medvedev top half and a Ruud Darderi bottom half, and we'll see how it goes. It's very, very, very hard to see anyone touching Sinner from here on out, but we'll see how it goes. Okay, I'm almost finished. I just wanted to close out with a very quick look at the men's and women's French Opens as of now. We did this about 3 weeks ago, and I put up some prices that are since long gone, but there are still some prices that are worth betting for my money, and most of them are on the women's side, to be honest. The three that I'm most interested in on the men's side at the prices that they are Casper Ruud 28-1 at DraftKings, Arthur Feast 30-1 at FanDuel, and Rafa Hodar 22-1 at FanDuel. I like that one less than the other two. My favourite of those will be Feast at 30s plus 3,000. I think Feast is going to be completely fine. Feast did in Rome exactly what I wish Musetti had done, which is just, I'm hurt, I'm not risking Paris, good luck. And then he quit. And he was 4-love down to Pellegrino at the time, and he just quit. And I would have loved, even if he just had done it in the end of the second set against Cerundolo, just be like, sorry, my hamstring is after tweaking, I'm done. I want to try and give myself the best chance of getting to Paris. So Feast is going to be fine. I think Feast will be completely grand. He's going to have basically 2 weeks off leading into Paris. He's played tons of tennis. He's had tons of competitive tennis. He'll be completely fine. He's probably my favourite bet in the men's at 30-1, and then you try bet it each way, and then you also try hope he gets on the opposite side of Sinner. But he's certainly got his chance. I think he could beat Zverev if it came down to it. I think he's ultra aggressive and he could beat him. And I definitely think he can beat Djokovic. I think Djokovic is now taking up way too much of the book at the 12-1 price that he is. Just what we saw in Rome was not that encouraging for Novak. So we'll see how he goes. He can up his game in a slam, as we know, but I don't have a ton of confidence there. Have 5 names on the women's side at various prices. Swiatek's not one of them. I already mentioned her, but I do think, if you wanted to bet a girl near the top of the market, I think right now it has to be Swiatek. If we're talking about Sabalenka or Swiatek, I think it has to be Swiatek just based on what we've seen, and she's already a bigger price than Sabalenka, which doesn't make sense given Sabalenka's early exits, and Swiatek seems to have her form back right now. So the names I like if I ask anybody listening, what girl has been the standout girl on clay so far this season, the only correct answer is Marta Kostyuk. And Marta Kostyuk is not someone I've always been a huge fan of, or her tennis. I don't trust her on the mental side of the game necessarily, but she's 25 to 1 generally available. She won 2 tournaments back to back coming in here. She won, I think it wasn't Linz. I forget the first one, it doesn't matter. But she won in Madrid, which is the big one, which was a Masters 1000 and her first Masters 1000. And she won pretty easily in Madrid. So, sorry, it was Rouen. Her other one was WTA Rouen. So 12 matches back to back that she's won at all levels on clay so far this clay season. She pulled out of Madrid, which, you know, sets her up lovely. I need to check, to be honest, if she's going to go this week or not from next weekend in a tournament, whether it's Strasbourg or Rabat. There's a chance, I guess, she goes in Strasbourg. But even if she goes in Strasbourg, I think she'll be going there for a round or two. She will not give a shit about the title or trying to win it. Her only thing will be, let me get another competitive match in here and get my eye back in a competitive match. So I do like Kostyuk at 25 to 1. I think that's borderline generous price. I should have said Goff first because of her price, but Goff is 9 to 1 general as well, and I can't square that off. When you have Arina Sabalenka plus 250 struggling to win a match at the moment on clay, you have Rybakina about 7 to 1, you have Mirandriva 7, 8, even 9 to 1. Goff has to be favoured over at least Rybakina and Andriva for me on clay. I think Goff is a bet at 9 to 1. I think she should be borderline second favourite or very close with Sabalenka. I think they should both be in the kind of 5 to 1 region. And then 3 other longer shots. Bet Rivers are still hanging 40 to 1, so plus 4,000 for Karolina Mukova. I'm hoping that Mukova drifts at some of the books. I don't love that she went out early here in Rome, because I had a bet on her in Rome for the quarter and also in the finalist market. But I don't mind it. Her level is there, and it's going to take a bit of pressure off her for Roland Garros, because now all of a sudden the expectations are so much lower than if she had gone on a final run in Rome to match her final run in Stuttgart. But she is someone I certainly have high hopes for at Roland Garros. I mentioned it before on a separate pod, but she was in the final there before against Swiatek. She served for the title at 5-4 in the third and got broken. Broke herself, might be more accurate. But I'm definitely going to back the 40 to 1 at Rivers if I can get something on. And then the other 2 long shots that I like, Iva Jovic 100 to 1 at Rivers, Linda Noskova 120 to 1 at Rivers. So I like both of those. Both got huge ceilings, a lot of upset potential. Jovic I probably prefer to Noskova at those prices. Jovic troubled Goff this week. She obviously pushed her really close. She stepped on another level from what we saw in Madrid. So I think she's coming into Roland Garros in a lovely spot. I think there's probably only like 8 girls who can say, I'm going out to beat Jovic today. And honestly, I think she's like really, really dangerous. She can beat anybody. She should be probably the 90% of the field. So at 100 to 1, I wouldn't mind playing Jovic. And Noskova has a huge game too. I think she's a bit more erratic than Jovic is, but she arguably right now, I don't think long term has a higher ceiling, but arguably right now can reach higher heights. Jovic can reach high heights too, so I wouldn't die on that hill. But those are my 2 outrights the kind of long shot dark horses that I like. My favourite bet in that, I actually really like the first 3 bets, Kostyuk, Goff and Mukova at the prices. And I probably prefer any of those 3 to any of the 3 men, the bets in the men's side of the draw that I mentioned. So just sign off, say thanks for listening. Please subscribe. I need more followers. I need more subscribers. So please do share it around. If you like it, if you listen to it, please subscribe. Please share it to your friends. French Open's coming up. Wimbledon's coming up. There's Grand Slams. That's when all the casuals come out of the wood and they start asking for bets and for, opinions on tennis for Wimbledon and the French. So please do share it. I would appreciate that, and follow along. I'm going to be back on Sunday for ATP Hamburg, ATP Geneva, WTA Strasbourg and WTA Rabat. And like I said, these are the ones where I think you can make some money. They're easier in some ways to bet on, just because you know that there's going to be upsets that you don't necessarily get as much of in the 1000s. The first week I did the pod was a week similar to the next week that's coming, which is like 4 tournaments all lower tier. And I had I had 4 outright winners I obviously put up more selections than that I bet myself, but I had 4 winners, which is an amazing week. So hoping for definitely a winner or two next week, but fingers crossed for Goff as well for the remainder of this tournament. And obviously the cherry on top will be if Svitolina and Goff could play in the final. That'd be an amazing end to the week. So thank you for listening along. Talk to you the weekend. Ciao.